Have you ever felt attracted to someone who was theoretically completely out of your plans? That person who, when you stop and think rationally, makes absolutely no sense, but at the same time, awakens something in you so intense that you simply can't ignore it? Well, I never imagined that a simple invitation to spend a weekend at the beach would turn my life upside down, and even less that this upheaval would come from someone 20 years older than me. My best friend's father. If you've ever hidden a feeling out of fear of how others would react, you'll understand exactly what I went through. And today, finally, I'm going to tell this story because I discovered that I'm not alone. Many people have felt something like this forbidden attraction that messes with everything we thought we knew about ourselves. Stay until the end, because what happened that weekend tested not only my friendship, but also my courage to accept who I really am. My name is Alex, I'm 23 years old and I live in Los Angeles. At the time of this story, I had just turned 22 and was in that phase of life when you think you already know yourself, that you've already figured out who you are and what you want. I had come out as gay about 2 years earlier, told my family, my friends, and was finally living without having to hide. It was liberating, you know? After years of pretending, years of having to measure every word, every gesture, every look, I could finally just exist. But truly existing is more complicated than we imagine. Because even when you accept who you are, you still have all those insecurities, those doubts, that fear of not being completely accepted. And I carried that with me. Did people see me as I really was? Was I interesting enough? Would someone really want me, not just for one night, but in a deep, genuine way? It was at that moment that my best friend since childhood, Jake, invited me to spend a long weekend at his family's beach house. It was an annual tradition, but this time would be different because it would be my first time going after coming out. Not that this was a problem for Jake or his family. They had always been super cool with me. But I still had that anxiety, that desire to prove that nothing had changed, that I was still the same Alex as always. I accepted immediately. The invitation felt like a welcome escape. I needed that, you know? I needed an escape from the routine, from the city, from all those silent pressures we put on ourselves. Beach, sun, beer, friends, laughter. It seemed perfect. Simple. Innocent. We arrived on Friday night after almost 4 hours of travel. The house was on a more isolated beach, one of those where you need to take a dirt road to get there. When we got out of the car, the smell of the sea hit me immediately. That smell of salt and freedom that only the ocean has. The moon was almost full, illuminating the foam of the waves breaking on the sand. It was beautiful. It was exactly what I needed. Jake's father, David, was on the porch when we arrived. His presence felt both familiar and strangely intriguing. He was about 42 years old, graying hair on the sides, that well-groomed beard that gives an air of maturity, and brown eyes that seemed to see more than what you were saying. He had always been kind to me since I was a child. But that night, when he greeted me with a warm hug and said, "It's so good you came, Alex. It's been a while," I felt something different, something I couldn't name yet. It wasn't attraction, at least not at first. It was more a feeling of safety, of warmth. That first night, we all sat talking on the porch. Jake's mother, Sarah, had made a delicious lasagna, and we ate, drank wine, told stories. David was funny, charismatic, in that way that makes you feel comfortable instantly. He asked questions about my life, about my work, about my plans, and really seemed interested in the answers. It wasn't that automatic adult conversation where they pretend to care. He really cared, and that affected me in a way I didn't expect. When the night ended and I went to sleep in the guest room, I caught myself thinking about him. Not in a romantic way yet, but in a curious way. Who was this man who seemed so comfortable in his own skin? How did he reach this point of security and maturity? I wanted to understand. I wanted to learn. On Saturday morning, I woke up early to the sound of the waves. I went down to the kitchen and found David making coffee, just in shorts and a white t-shirt, his hair still a bit messy from sleep. He smiled when he saw me. "Coffee?" he offered, and I accepted. We stayed there, just the two of us, drinking coffee in silence while the sun began to illuminate the horizon through the kitchen window. It was a comfortable silence, one of those you don't need to fill with small talk. And then he asked, "How are you, Alex?" Really? The question caught me by surprise. Not "how are you," that automatic question everyone asks, but "how are you?" with emphasis, with intention, as if he really wanted to know what was happening inside me. I could have given a generic answer. I could have said, "I'm fine, thanks," and changed the subject. But something in that moment, in that kitchen illuminated by the soft morning light, made me want to be honest. "I'm still finding myself, you know?" I replied. "Like I still have to prove something, but I don't even know what." He nodded slowly, as if he understood exactly what I was saying. "It's normal to feel that way," he said, his voice steady and compassionate. "We spend our entire lives molded by others' expectations. And when we finally choose to be truly ourselves, it takes time to grow comfortable with that freedom. Don't rush yourself, Alex. You've already conquered the most challenging part. Those words hit me in a way I didn't expect. It wasn't just what he said, but how he said it, with deep understanding, with empathy, with experience. I felt seen, really seen, and that created something inside me, a kind of admiration I hadn't felt before. We spent the day at the beach. Me, Jake, Sarah, and David. We swam, played beach paddleball, laughed. But my eyes kept returning to him all the time. The way he moved, with confidence and naturalness. The way he interacted with his wife, with genuine affection. The way he included me in conversations, made me feel part of it all. And it was there, on that sunny Saturday, with the warm sand on our feet and the sound of waves in the background, that I began to realize I was feeling something for him. Something that went beyond admiration. Something dangerous. My heart raced when I realized this. This was my best friend's father. He was married. He was more than 20 years older than me. This was wrong. This was a betrayal of the friendship I had with Jake. But at the same time, I couldn't stop looking. I couldn't stop wanting to be near him. That afternoon, Jake and Sarah went upstairs to take a nap, and I stayed on the beach with David. He was reading a book, lying on a beach chair, and I was pretending to read mine. But actually, I could only think about him. "You're quiet today," he suddenly commented, lowering his book and looking at me over his sunglasses. "Just thinking," I replied, trying to sound casual. I didn't want to. Or rather, I wanted to, but I couldn't. How was I going to say I was thinking about him? That I was beginning to feel something I shouldn't feel? It's just life, you know? I said vaguely. Sometimes I think I'll never find someone who really understands me. He was silent for a moment, as if he were choosing the right words. "You'll find them, Alex. And when you do, you'll realize it's worth all the waiting and confusion." He paused, his tone softening. "Sometimes, we discover profound connections in the most unexpected places, with people we never could have imagined. And that's not wrong. That's beautifully human." My heart raced. Was he feeling the same thing? Was this just a generic conversation, or was he trying to tell me something? I didn't have the courage to ask. I just nodded and went back to pretending I was reading my book. But his words kept echoing in my head for the rest of the day. That night, after dinner, we all stayed on the porch again. But this time there was a tension in the air that only I seemed to feel. Every time my eyes met David's, it was as if an electric current passed between us. I didn't know if it was real or if it was in my head. When everyone went to sleep, I stayed awake in my room, staring at the ceiling, trying to understand what was happening to me. Was I betraying my best friend just by feeling this? Was I a horrible person for having this attraction? What if David noticed? What if he was disgusted? What if this ruined everything? But on the other hand, I had never felt so alive. That tension, that forbidden desire, all that confusion, it all made me feel things I had never felt before. It wasn't just physical attraction. It was an emotional connection, a deep admiration, a desire to be close, to be seen, to be understood. I was in love, and that was the scariest and most exciting thing I had ever felt in my life. On Sunday morning, Jake suggested we go kayaking. Me, him, and David. Sarah preferred to stay reading on the porch. We grabbed the kayaks and paddled away from the beach to a calmer part of the bay. It was there, in the middle of the water, with the sun reflecting on the surface and the silence being broken only by the sound of the oars, that I realized I wouldn't be able to hide this forever. At some point, this was going to explode, and I had no idea what was going to happen when it exploded. Jake was ahead, rowing energetically, oblivious to the internal storm that was happening inside me, and David was beside me, rowing at the same pace, as if we were synchronized somehow. He looked at me, and for a brief moment our gazes met, and there, in that second, I saw something in his eyes, something that told me I wasn't imagining things. He knew, he felt it, and that changed everything. That night, the last night of the weekend, I knew something was going to happen. I could feel it in the tension in the air, in the way David avoided being too close to me, but at the same time couldn't stop looking at me. It was as if we were both dancing around something inevitable. When everyone went to sleep, I stayed on the porch, alone, looking at the dark sea under the starry sky. I couldn't sleep. My heart was racing, my hands were sweating, and my mind wouldn't stop. The moonlight cast a silvery glow across the water, reflecting my inner turmoil. And then I heard footsteps behind me. It was him. David stopped beside me, leaning on the porch railing, looking at the sea just like me. "Can't sleep?" he asked, his voice low and soft. "No," I replied, my voice trembling more than I intended. We stood there, side by side, in silence. But it was a loaded silence, a silence that said everything our mouths couldn't. Until he spoke. "Alex, I need to tell you something." My heart stopped. This was the moment. The moment that would change everything. "I know what you're feeling," he continued, his gaze still fixed on the sea. "And I'll be honest, I feel something too. Something I know I shouldn't." I couldn't breathe. He had just confirmed everything. I wasn't crazy. I wasn't alone. "But this is complicated, Alex," he said, finally turning to look at me. "Very complicated. You're my son's best friend. I'm married. This can't happen." "I know," I whispered, and tears began to form in my eyes without me noticing. "I know it's wrong, but I can't stop feeling it." He reached out and gently touched my face, wiping away a tear that had fallen. His touch was tender, a paradoxical sensation that made me feel simultaneously ablaze and frozen. "There's nothing wrong with you feeling this, Alex," he said, his voice heavy with emotion. "Feelings are never wrong. They're just feelings. What we do with them is what defines who we are." "And what are we going to do?" I asked, my voice almost inaudible. He remained silent for a long moment, and then let out a heavy sigh. "I don't know," he admitted, "but this conversation needs to happen. Not now, not here. But at some point, we need to understand this." He took his hand away from my face, and the absence of his touch hurt more than I expected. "Go to sleep, Alex. The next 24 hours are going to be difficult." He turned and went into the house, leaving me alone on the balcony, with my heart broken and full of hope at the same time. I didn't sleep that night. I stayed watching the sea until the sun rose, thinking about everything that had happened, about everything he had said, about everything that was still to come. Because now, after that conversation, there was no turning back. The next 24 hours would force me to confront the truth about myself, about what I really wanted, and about how far I was willing to go for this feeling that was consuming me from the inside. Night descended over the beach house like a hushed invitation. As everyone retreated to their rooms, time seemed to stretch and contract. Each second waited with unspoken tension. The air felt charged, dense with the day's unexpressed emotions, and I knew he sensed it too. Have you ever attempted to suppress a feeling when every fiber of your being is desperate to acknowledge its existence? I should have been sleeping, should have been thinking about anything else. But there I was, on the balcony, looking at the dark sea, trying to organize thoughts that simply refused to make sense. I should stop feeling this, I thought. But I can't. I just can't. That's when I heard the glass door sliding behind me. "Hi," he said. His voice was low, unhurried, just present. My entire body reacted before my mind could process it. I turned to the side, half trying to hide my face, half wanting him to see exactly what I was feeling. "Can't sleep either?" he asked, approaching until he was beside me at the balcony railing. "No," I replied, my voice coming out shakier than I wanted. "Just thinking about?" And there it was. The damn question that could change everything or destroy everything. I could lie, could say about nothing, or make up any excuse. But something about that night, that moment, made me choose the truth. At least part of it. About feeling different, I said, still looking at the sea. About not really fitting in anywhere. He remained silent for a few seconds. That kind of silence that isn't empty but full of understanding. "I understand," he said finally. "More than you imagine." I turned to look at him, and it was a mistake. Because in that moment, with the dim moonlight illuminating half of his face, I saw something that completely disarmed me. I saw someone who truly understood me. It wasn't pity. It wasn't curiosity. It was recognition. "When I was your age," he continued, "I felt that way too. Like the world had rules that everyone knew, except me. Like there was a script I had never received. And how did you deal with it? I learned that being different isn't being wrong." He paused. "It's just being honest about who you really are." Those words hit me in a way I didn't expect. Because coming from him, in that moment, they meant everything. They were the permission I didn't know I was waiting for. And when our eyes truly met, when I saw that he was really seeing me, something inside me broke and rebuilt itself at the same time. That's when it happened. An accidental touch. My hand on the balcony railing, his moving to the same place. Our fingers touched, and neither of us pulled away immediately. It was just a second, maybe two. But in that instant, the entire world stopped. I should have pulled away. He should have removed his hand. But we both stayed there, in that minimal touch that said everything words couldn't. And when he finally moved his hand, it wasn't away. It was to mine, wrapping around my fingers with a tenderness that almost made me forget to breathe. "You're not alone in this," he said. So softly it was almost a whisper. "And I want you to know there's nothing wrong with what you're feeling. Nothing." He wasn't just talking about me feeling different. We both knew that. And in that moment, with his hand in mine, with his eyes saying everything his mouth couldn't, I knew. He knew. He had always known. And more than that, he felt something too. Only those who have loved someone forbidden truly understand this pain. That delicate balance of relief and terror, of finally feeling seen, while simultaneously knowing that visibility could annihilate everything. But that night on the balcony, I abandoned all caution, because for the first time in my life, I felt completely understood. The next morning came too fast. Sunlight sliced through my room, a merciless reminder that reality was waiting, unforgiving, and with it rushed back all the contradictions the night had momentarily dissolved. At breakfast, everything seemed normal. My best friend was excited, talking about going to the beach again, having a barbecue at the end of the day. He had no idea, absolutely no idea what had happened between me and his father a few hours before. And me, I was destroyed inside. Every time our eyes met across the table, electricity crackled between us. Each casual word, each mundane gesture now vibrated with unspoken intensity. A silent language that only we could decode. "Let's go to the beach, guys," my friend shouted, already with his surfboard under his arm. My heart raced. My friend didn't even suspect, just waved and ran out. And suddenly it was just the two of us. Again. "Come on," he said, and I followed him. The trail was short, leading to a more isolated part of the beach. White sand, crystal blue sea, and no one around. It was perfect. Frighteningly perfect. "About last night," he began, stopping and turning to me. My whole body tensed. This was the moment. Either he was going to say it had been a mistake, that I had misunderstood, that this could never happen. Or, and there it was, the confession, the moment that would change everything, the words I had desperately wanted to hear and at the same time was so afraid to listen to. Because now it was real. It wasn't just in my head anymore. It wasn't just a secret desire anymore. It was mutual. "But we can't," I said, feeling the tears coming. "Your son, my best friend. This isn't right." "Right is what we feel," he replied, taking a step toward me. "Not what others say it should be." And that's when it happened. He came even closer, raised his hand, touched my face with a gentleness that contrasted with the intensity of the moment. His eyes asking permission that his mouth didn't need to formulate. And me, I didn't resist. I had no more strength to resist. He leaned in. I closed my eyes, our faces inches apart. I could feel his breath. I could feel the whole world disappearing around us. Just one more second and... "Dad, are you guys there?" My friend's voice exploded into the perfect bubble we had created. We pulled apart so fast we almost tripped in the sand. My heart beating so hard I was sure you could hear it from far away. "I'm here, son," he replied, his voice surprisingly calm. I was just showing him the view. My friend appeared on the trail, smiling, completely oblivious to what had almost happened. "Cool, right?" he said. "Let's go back? Everyone's already there." "Let's go," I managed to say, my voice almost failing. On the way back, I was destroyed. I can't do this to my best friend, I thought repeatedly. I can't. This will destroy our friendship. It will destroy his family. It will destroy everything. But when I looked back, I saw his father walking a few steps behind, and the expression on his face was one of pure agony. The same agony I felt, because we both knew the truth. We both wanted something we couldn't have. And the more we tried to deny it, the stronger it became. The rest of the day was torture. Every casual interaction was a reminder of what had almost happened. Every time my friend talked to his father, I felt guilt swallowing me. And every time our eyes met by accident, I saw the same internal struggle I was fighting. That night, when everyone was gathered in the living room, he announced, "Guys, tomorrow is our last day here. Let's make the most of it." Last day. The words echoed in my head like a sentence. Last day to decide. Last day to act. Last day to have courage or live forever with the what if. Later, when I was alone in my room, I realized something. He had been distant all day. He had avoided being alone with me. He had created a barrier that didn't exist before. And that hurt more than I expected. He's pulling away, I thought. He's giving up. He's choosing the right path. But me? Surrender was impossible. The conventional path held no allure, because for the first time, I had experienced total acceptance, total visibility, total desire. Relinquishing this connection would be tantamount to self-annihilation. Lying in bed, looking at the ceiling, I made a decision. I can't leave here without knowing the truth. Without hearing from him, clearly, what this means. What we mean. Tomorrow would be the last day, and I wasn't gonna let it pass without having that conversation. Without finding out if what I saw in his eyes was real, or if it was just what I wanted to see. Some truths, even when painful, are better than living in perpetual doubt. And this truth? It would demand every ounce of my courage. There I was, gazing at that final night as if it were my world's end. The trip was over. My bags were packed, and still, I hadn't spoken a word. How could I possibly say something like that? How do you look your best friend's father in the eye and confess, "I've fallen in love with you"? How do you surrender a feeling that might shatter everything? But I knew that if I didn't say anything, I would spend the rest of my life wondering, What if? And I couldn't live with that. Jake had gone out with friends. Last night in the city, he wanted to make the most of it. And David stayed home, said he was tired, but I saw it in his eyes. He was also struggling with something. I descended to the living room, my heart thundering so loudly I was certain he could hear its rhythm from across the room. He stood on the balcony, gazing at the cityscape. The same balcony where we'd shared countless conversations, where he'd listened, truly listened, where he'd understood me in a way no one else ever had. I stopped at the door, took a deep breath, and spoke. David. He turned, and when his eyes met mine, I knew he also knew, that he also felt it, that we were living through the same anguish. I need to tell you something before I leave. He didn't say anything, just looked at me, waiting. I know this is wrong. I know I shouldn't feel what I'm feeling. You're my best friend's father. You have an entire life established. I'm 22, and you're 45, but I can't leave without unburdening my heart. His voice came out low, almost a whisper. Tell me what? And I spoke. For the first time in my life, I said what I really felt without fear of judgment. That I've fallen in love with you. In these past 15 days, I've learned that age becomes irrelevant when you find someone who truly sees you. I continued, my voice trembling. I know we can't be together. That this will devastate Jake. That society will judge us harshly. But I can't hide this truth any longer. Not from you. Not from myself. The silence that followed was deafening. He kept looking at me, and I saw tears forming in his eyes. You think I don't know all this? His voice trembled. You think I haven't also spent the last few days trying to understand what's happening to me? I'm an adult. I should know how to control myself. But when I look at you, I see someone who reignites my spirit. Someone who comprehends my solitude without requiring explanation. Someone who sees through the walls I've constructed, beyond the veneer of everything is fine. And that terrifies me, because of your youth. Because you're my son's friend. Because this entire situation is utterly absurd. I took a step toward him. Then let's be crazy together. He laughed. A sad laugh, but genuine. You don't know what you're getting into. I know exactly. And I'm not saying you feel this too. But if you do, I just want you to know there's nothing wrong with it. That I understand. And that I won't judge you. He closed his eyes, took a deep breath. And when he opened them again, there was a decision there. Come here. I moved closer, heart racing. And he held my face with both hands, in the most delicate way I had ever felt in my life. May I kiss you? I couldn't even speak, just nodded, and he kissed me. It was the truest kiss of my life. Unhurried, without guilt in that moment, just us. Two people who had found each other at the wrong time, in the wrong place, but with the right feeling. When we pulled apart, I was crying. He was too. And now? I asked. Now we must return to reality, he murmured, gently brushing away my tears. Because this must not happen again. Yet I was already losing something far more profound. I was losing my one chance at genuine happiness. He embraced me, holding me tightly, as if he could shield me from the world, from ourselves, from the complicated emotions threatening to consume us. Let's approach this rationally, he whispered. You'll return to your city. We'll have time to process this. And if, after some reflection, you still feel the same. He paused. We'll talk. I knew his reasoning was sound, but the knowledge cut deep. We had found each other only to be forced apart. But life has a funny way of putting everything in perspective. Because at that moment, we heard the key turning in the door. Jake had come back early. Jake walked into the living room. Saw us, saw my face with swollen eyes. Saw the way his father was looking at me. What's going on here? The silence was heavy. And then David did the bravest thing I've ever seen anyone do. He looked at his son and told the truth. Jake, sit down. We need to talk. What came next was the most difficult conversation of my life. David explained everything, calmly, maturely, taking full responsibility. He made it clear that I hadn't done anything wrong, that he, as an adult, had the obligation to have maintained boundaries, that it wasn't my fault. Jake looked at me as if he didn't know me. You fell in love with my father? I didn't want to. My voice came out broken. I swear I didn't want to, but it happened, and I couldn't keep it to myself. I never wanted to hurt you, Jake. You're my best friend. His voice came out cold. Because I don't know if we can still be friends after this. And he left. The following days were a blur. I went back to my city. Jake wouldn't answer my calls. David sent me messages telling me to be patient, that he would talk to his son, that everything would work out. But I wasn't sure about that. 6 months passed. 6 months of silence, of pain, of wondering if I had done the right thing, until one day my phone rang. It was Jake. Hi. His voice was different, calmer. Hi. I could barely speak. I needed time to understand, to accept, and I'm still not sure if I fully accept it, but I talked a lot with my dad and with my therapist, and I realized something. He took a deep breath. I had never seen my dad happy. Not really. Not since my mom left. And when you were here, he smiled again. He became a person again. And I got angry because I wanted him to be just my dad. But he's also a person who deserves to be happy. I was crying. I don't know if we'll go back to what we were. It'll take time, but if you truly love him, if it's not just a passing infatuation, then I won't stand in your way. Jake, just promise me one thing. Don't hurt him, because if you hurt him, then I'll never forgive you. I laughed through my tears. I promise. Today, 2 years later, David and I are together. For real. We live in the same city. Jake is still processing it, but he comes to dinner with us once a month. The relationship isn't perfect, but it's real. And I learned something through all of this. Society will tell you that certain loves are forbidden, that you shouldn't feel this way, that you must follow the rules. But the heart doesn't follow rules. The heart follows the truth. I'm not saying that everyone should do what I did. I'm not romanticizing anything. It was difficult. It was painful. And there were consequences. But I'm also not lying anymore. I'm not pretending I don't feel what I feel. And for the first time in my life, I'm being authentic. If you've ever loved someone you weren't supposed to love, if you've ever felt something that society condemned as wrong, but your heart recognized as true, this story is for you, because you're not alone, and your feelings are valid. No matter who you love, no matter what others will say, what matters is that you're true to yourself. Because in the end, the only person who needs to approve of your love is you. And if you have a similar story, if you've been through something like this, leave it here in the comments. This is a safe space. We're here to listen to each other, to understand each other, to validate each other. Because true love has no age, no rules, no manual. True love only takes courage, and I chose to be brave.